When Meghan Markle sat down for what was supposed to be a glamorous Harper's Bazaar cover interview, nobody expected the moment that would leave royal watchers absolutely speechless. The Duchess of Sussex, dining at the exclusive Beverly Hills Hotel Polo Lounge, did something so bizarre that even the journalist covering the story couldn't help but document it for the world to see. Meghan stopped her own interview mid-conversation to take a photograph of her own face recreated in cappuccino foam. Let that sink in for a moment. The woman who claims she's all about authenticity and keeping things real literally paused a major magazine interview to snap a picture of herself in coffee art. According to journalist Caitlyn Greenidge, who conducted the interview, a waiter brought Meghan a cappuccino with her face delicately drawn into the foam. Meghan immediately recognized the photo used for the coffee art, exclaiming it was from her and Harry's trip to South Africa. Then came the cringeworthy part. Instead of graciously acknowledging it and moving on, Meghan whipped out her phone and started photographing her own face while the journalist sat there watching. Royal commentators are calling this the most narcissistic moment caught on record in recent celebrity journalism. Kinsey Schofield, host of the podcast To Die for Daily, didn't hold back her thoughts. She pointed out that any normal person would wait until after the interview, maybe have their publicist grab a quick photo and move on. But not Meghan. She needed that validation right then and there. Consequences be damned. The image had to be captured, shared, probably posted to her carefully curated social media presence where she controls every single narrative. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This wasn't just any casual coffee meetup. Meghan had strategically chosen a circular corner table in the garden area of the Polo Lounge, what the journalist described as a prime seat where they could see other diners and, more importantly, where other diners could see them. This was calculated from the very beginning. Meghan wanted to be seen, wanted to be noticed, wanted everyone in that exclusive Hollywood hotspot to know she was there conducting important business with a major fashion magazine. And her publicist? Sitting right there between Meghan and the journalist throughout the entire first interview. Talk about controlling the narrative. Most celebrities who are truly confident in their message don't need a handler physically positioned between themselves and the reporter. But apparently Meghan does. Industry insiders are whispering that this cappuccino incident perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with Meghan's current public image. She's trying so desperately to appear relatable and authentic while simultaneously craving the spotlight and validation that comes with celebrity status. The two just don't mix, and moments like this expose the carefully constructed facade. But the cappuccino catastrophe was just the appetizer. What happened next at a private brownstone in New York would leave even Meghan's most devoted supporters questioning her grip on reality. If you thought the cappuccino incident was peak Meghan delusion, buckle up. What happened during the second part of her Harper's Bazaar interview has royal experts convinced that Prince William's campaign to strip the Sussex titles just got a massive boost. Journalist Caitlyn Greenidge flew to New York to continue the interview at a friend's grand brownstone on the Upper East Side. The house belonged to one of Meghan's close friends, believed to be Misha Nono, and it was clearly an expensive modern property with professional staff. When Greenidge arrived and entered the home, something absolutely mortifying happened. The house manager formally announced Meghan's entrance by proclaiming, "Meghan, Duchess of Sussex." Here's the kicker. There were only two other people in the entire house. Just Meghan, the journalist, and the staff member making this ridiculous announcement. Nobody else. No crowd, no party, no formal event requiring such pompous protocol. Just three people in a private residence, and Meghan still demanded to be announced by her royal title like she was arriving at Buckingham Palace for a state dinner. The journalist even noted in her piece that despite appearing to be alone in the house, this formal announcement still happened. Royal commentators immediately recognized this for what it was, a calculated power move by a woman absolutely obsessed with the status her marriage brought her. Tom Sykes, royal expert and founder of the Royalist newsletter, pointed out that anyone who actually understands how aristocratic titles work knows that using them on American soil is completely meaningless and frankly embarrassing. Sykes referenced Winston Churchill's 1929 American tour, where Churchill himself observed that titles count for nothing with Americans, and introduced himself simply as Mr. Churchill everywhere he went. That's how actual aristocracy behaves. They don't need to constantly remind everyone of their status, because their confidence comes from within, not from a title bestowed by marriage. But Meghan, she's allegedly making sure that even in the most casual, private settings, people are forced to acknowledge her as Duchess of Sussex. Royal watchers have noted she's been announced by this title in multiple settings, from arriving in golf carts to greet school children to private interviews in friends' homes. This woman told Oprah Winfrey back in 2021 that titles didn't mean anything to her, that she didn't care about such superficial trappings. Clearly that was a blatant lie. Palace insiders are whispering that this Harper's Bazaar revelation is exactly the kind of ammunition Prince William has been waiting for. He's reportedly been pushing his father King Charles to strip Harry and Meghan of their titles, arguing that they're commercially exploiting their royal connections in direct violation of the agreement made after they stepped back from royal duties. Every time Meghan insists on being called Duchess while hawking her jam or promoting her Netflix shows, she's proving William's point. Sources close to the situation suggest that William hopes Charles will act before his reign ends, but time is running out. What's certain is that moments like this private brownstone announcement are making the case for title removal stronger by the day. And yet somehow Meghan's delusions were just getting started. In what might be the most bizarre quote ever published in a major fashion magazine, Meghan Markle told Harper's Bazaar that she hopes her children see the value of being brave by watching her make jam. Yes, you read that correctly. Jam making as an act of courage. When journalist Caitlyn Greenidge asked Meghan what she hoped Archie and Lilibet would learn from watching her work, Meghan delivered this head-scratching response. She said she hopes they see the value of being brave, that they witnessed this bravery when the jam was just a pot on the stove bubbling. Royal commentators immediately started dissecting this statement, trying to understand what on earth she could possibly mean. What exactly is brave about boiling fruit and sugar in a kitchen? Is she dodging flying strawberries? Battling rogue preserves? The internet had a field day with this one, especially considering that just days before the Harper's Bazaar piece dropped, Meghan had gone viral for holding her jam tongs upside down in promotional photos for her American Riviera Orchard brand. The woman claiming that jam making is an act of bravery doesn't even know how to properly use the basic equipment required for the task. The upside-down tongs became a trending topic, with professional chefs and home cooks alike pointing out that Meghan clearly has no idea what she's doing in the kitchen. But here's where the story gets even more suspicious. To support this newfound passion for preserves, Meghan suddenly unveiled a heartwarming origin story about her grandmother from Tennessee, who used to make jam with her as a child. She painted this picture of idyllic childhood memories, picking fruit in her grandmother's garden and learning the ancient art of preserve making from this wise family matriarch. Royal watchers immediately called nonsense on this convenient narrative. Kinsey Schofield pointed out that if this grandmother story were actually true, if Meghan genuinely had this deep emotional connection to jam making from her childhood, she would have mentioned it when she first launched American Riviera Orchard. She would have shared it during her Time 100 appearance when she sat on stage with Blake Lively. She would have told this touching tale when Netflix first asked her about the inspiration behind With Love Meghan. Instead, Meghan's story kept changing. First, she blamed Netflix, saying the whole lifestyle show was their idea. Then at Fortune's Most Powerful Women Summit, she claimed it happened during the pandemic when she started making jam and decided it could be a business. Now suddenly there's this Tennessee grandmother who taught her everything? Nobody had ever heard Meghan mention Tennessee in her entire public life before this interview. Tom Bower, who wrote the explosive biography Revenge about the Sussexes, would likely have included such a story if it had any basis in reality. So would Andrew Morton in his Meghan book. But neither of them mentioned any jam-making grandmother from Tennessee, because according to royal insiders, the story is completely fabricated. Meghan is rewriting her own history yet again, creating whatever backstory serves her current narrative and hoping nobody notices the contradictions. But the delusions didn't stop there. There's something deeply unsettling happening in Meghan Markle's public discussions about her marriage, and the Harper's Bazaar interview brought it into sharp focus. When given the opportunity to talk about her relationship with Prince Harry, Meghan had a bizarre pattern that royal experts are calling a massive red flag. Throughout the interview, Meghan repeatedly emphasized how much Harry loves her. She put her hand on her heart and declared that he loves her so boldly, so fully. She insisted that no one in the world loves her more than him, that she knows he's always going to have her back. She described his love as bringing out the child in her, his devotion as unwavering and complete. On and on she went, talking about Harry's feelings for her, Harry's commitment to her, Harry's perspective that protects her. But here's what's chilling. Not once did Meghan talk about how much she loves him. Not a single mention of her own feelings, her own devotion, her own commitment to this man who gave up his entire life for her. Royal commentator Kinsey Schofield pointed out that when normal people talk about their significant others, the natural impulse is to express your own love. You say how much they mean to you, how grateful you are for them, how deeply you care about them. Instead, Meghan flipped the entire dynamic to focus on how devoted Harry is to her. Body language expert Scott Rouse, when asked about this pattern, replied with two chilling words: clinical narcissist. Think about that for a moment. An expert in reading human behavior believes Meghan's constant need to tell the world how much Harry loves her, rather than expressing her own love for him, suggests narcissistic personality traits. This isn't the first time Meghan has done this either. During her interview with Jamie Kern-Lima, she pulled the same stunt, going on and on about how much that man loves her. It's become a troubling pattern that makes people wonder whether Harry is truly a partner to Meghan or simply a prop in her carefully constructed life story. Is he the supporting actor in the Meghan show, valued only for what he brings to her image rather than who he is as a person? And here's where things get even more disturbing. Vanity Fair published a report in February of 2025 claiming that someone from Meghan's own team had been shopping around a post-divorce book. Let that sink in. Someone close to Meghan was allegedly trying to sell a book about her divorce from Harry before it even happened. The notoriously litigious Sussexes, who sue at the drop of a hat over negative press, never challenged this claim. They never denied it. They never sent their lawyers after Vanity Fair demanding a retraction. That silence speaks volumes. If the story were false, Meghan and Harry would have their legal team all over it immediately. Their lack of response suggests there might be truth to the rumor that divorce is being planned, that Meghan's team is already preparing for the next chapter, which makes her constant declarations about Harry's devotion even more puzzling and frankly disturbing. Harper's Bazaar used one word so many times throughout their Meghan Markle profile that royal watchers started turning it into a drinking game. Authentic, authenticity, being authentic, staying true to herself, living authentically. The magazine beat readers over the head with this concept so relentlessly that it became painfully obvious what they were trying to do: convince the public that Meghan Markle is genuine. But here's the problem. When you have to constantly shove the word authentic down people's throats, when you need to repeat it over and over like a desperate mantra, it usually means the exact opposite is true. Kinsey Schofield nailed it when she said that truly authentic people don't need to continuously remind everyone how authentic they are. Their actions speak for themselves. The entire Harper's Bazaar piece reads like damage control, a carefully orchestrated attempt to rehabilitate Meghan's image after a year of spectacular failures. Her Spotify deal was terminated. Her Netflix shows bombed. American Riviera Orchard became a laughingstock. Her Christmas special was met with crickets. And through it all, Meghan kept insisting she was being her most authentic self. Royal experts aren't buying it for a second. They're pointing to the mounting evidence of Meghan's authenticity crisis, starting with those upside-down jam tongs that went viral just days before the magazine dropped. Here's a woman claiming that jam making is her passion, that it connects her to childhood memories with her Tennessee grandmother, that it represents bravery and authenticity. Yet she doesn't even know how to hold the basic equipment properly. Professional preserve makers were horrified, home cooks were baffled, and the internet had a field day mocking her incompetence. Then there's the Pamela Anderson situation that nobody's talking about enough. Multiple commentators have pointed out that Meghan's recent barefaced magazine cover strategy is lifted directly from Pamela Anderson's playbook. Anderson went the natural, no-makeup route over the past few years and received massive positive attention for her authenticity. She even launched a lifestyle brand and television show. Sound familiar? Meghan's With Love show copied Anderson's format almost frame by frame, to the point where Anderson herself was asked on Bravo what she thought about Meghan Markle copying her entire approach. Royal insiders are whispering that Meghan doesn't do anything original. She sees what works for other famous women and desperately tries to replicate their success. The barefaced magazine cover isn't about authenticity. It's about jumping on a trend that's already proven successful for someone else. But where Anderson's natural approach felt genuine because it aligned with her broader life choices, Meghan's version feels calculated and manufactured because it contradicts everything else she does. Case in point, Meghan claims she wants to live simply and authentically, yet she insists on being formally announced as Duchess of Sussex in private homes. She talks about making jam as an act of bravery while living in a $14 million Montecito mansion. She preaches about keeping things real while her publicist sits between her and journalists during interviews, controlling every word. The disconnect is staggering and people are noticing, but Meghan's attempts at image rehabilitation were about to take an even more cringeworthy turn. Just as the Harper's Bazaar cover was dropping, Netflix decided to release the trailer for Meghan's holiday special, and royal watchers immediately spotted something deeply uncomfortable. There, front and center, was what can only be described as one of the most awkward kisses ever captured on camera between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. The lighting alone was brutal. Whoever approved this footage clearly wasn't doing Harry any favors, because the harsh overhead lights illuminated every inch of his rapidly thinning crown. Royal commentators noted that Harry has been struggling visibly with his hair loss, something that clearly bothers him given his father and brother's well-documented battles with baldness. Yet Meghan signed off on footage that makes his thinning hair look worse than ever, choosing this as the image going out to millions of viewers worldwide. But it wasn't just the unflattering lighting that had people talking. It was Harry's body language throughout the entire kiss. Royal experts who specialize in reading nonverbal cues pointed out that Harry looked deeply uncomfortable, almost like he was fulfilling an obligation rather than sharing a genuine moment of affection with his wife. His posture was stiff, his expression forced, and the whole interaction felt performative rather than natural. Compare that to the candid moments we've seen between Prince William and Catherine over the years. When they share affectionate gestures, there's an ease to it, a comfort level that comes from a genuinely solid relationship. But with Harry and Meghan, every public display of affection feels calculated, timed for maximum PR impact, and strategically released to counter negative press or overshadow other royal family members. The timing of this Netflix trailer release is particularly telling. It dropped at exactly the same moment as the Harper's Bazaar cover feature, creating a coordinated media blitz designed to flood the news cycle with Meghan content. But royal insiders suggest there's a more sinister reason for this sudden push to showcase Harry and Meghan's supposed marital bliss. Rumors of trouble in paradise have been swirling for months, especially after that Vanity Fair report about someone from Meghan's team shopping a post-divorce book. Think about it, when celebrities suddenly start posting excessive couple content on social media, when they can't stop talking about how much they love each other, when they strategically release footage of themselves kissing, it's usually because they're trying to convince the public that everything's fine. Royal watchers have seen this pattern before, with other celebrity couples right before major breakup announcements. The performative displays of affection ramp up as the relationship privately crumbles. What makes this Netflix kiss even more suspicious is that it's part of Meghan's holiday special, a show that by all accounts has been a complete disaster. Early reviews were brutal, viewership numbers were disappointing, and the entire project felt like a desperate attempt to recreate the Martha Stewart magic that Meghan simply doesn't possess. Including Harry in the footage was a last-minute decision, according to sources, because Meghan knew she needed his royal connection to generate any interest whatsoever. Poor Harry looked absolutely miserable throughout the footage, like a hostage forced to perform for the cameras. And that awkward kiss? That was Meghan's idea of proving to the world that their marriage is solid. But the timing of these releases revealed something even more calculated. Here's what Meghan Markle and her team don't want you to know. The Harper's Bazaar cover and Netflix trailer didn't just randomly drop on the same day that Prince William and Catherine attended the Royal Variety performance at the Royal Albert Hall. This was deliberate, calculated, and exactly the kind of petty media warfare that palace insiders say proves the Sussexes have no intention of reconciling with the royal family. William and Catherine had a rare black tie engagement together, one of their first major public appearances since Catherine's cancer treatment. This was a significant moment for the Wales family, a chance for the future king and queen to show the world that they're back, they're strong, and they're committed to their royal duties. The event was planned months in advance, the date was public knowledge, and everyone knew the Prince and Princess of Wales would be front and center. Yet somehow, Meghan's team decided that exact same day would be perfect for releasing not one but two major media moments. The Harper's Bazaar digital cover dropped, the Netflix trailer launched, and suddenly news outlets had to choose which story to prioritize. Royal experts believe this was no coincidence. This was Meghan attempting to overshadow William and Catherine yet again, trying to steal their thunder and dominate the news cycle. But here's where Meghan's plan spectacularly backfired. British newspapers weren't having it. The Daily Express, The Times, and The Sun all chose to feature Catherine on their front pages instead of Meghan's magazine cover. Think about how devastating that must have been for Meghan, who clearly expected her barefaced Harper's Bazaar moment to dominate headlines. Instead, British media collectively decided that Catherine attending a charity event was more newsworthy than Meghan's latest PR stunt. And honestly, when you look at the footage from the Royal Albert Hall, you can see why. William and Catherine were absolutely glowing, comfortable in their roles, genuinely engaging with the public in a way that felt effortless. There was a particularly heartwarming moment that went viral, showing the couple meeting adorable twin girls who were so excited they could barely contain themselves. Catherine crouched down to their level, speaking to them with genuine warmth and interest, while William stood nearby with that easy smile that comes from someone completely secure in who they are. The contrast with Meghan's carefully staged Netflix footage couldn't have been starker, where William and Catherine's interaction felt spontaneous and real. Meghan's holiday special came across as manufactured and desperate. Where the Wales couple seemed relaxed and at ease, Harry looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. Where Catherine's natural elegance shone through, Meghan's try-hard energy was exhausting to watch. Royal commentators noted that this isn't the first time Meghan has tried to steal William and Catherine's spotlight. Remember when she leaked to The Sun that she was returning to acting, strategically timed to push William off the front pages? That attempt actually worked, but this time British media seemed fed up with Meghan's games and refused to play along. Palace insiders are whispering that William is absolutely furious about these continued attempts to undermine him and Catherine. One of the most insufferable aspects of the Harper's Bazaar interview was Meghan's desperate attempt to convince everyone she's a serious businesswoman. Multiple times throughout the piece, she casually dropped references to analyzing profit and loss statements, as if mentioning P&L reports somehow proves she's a corporate titan rather than a former cable actress hawking overpriced jam. Royal commentator Tom Sykes absolutely nailed it when he said that if he never hears Meghan talking about P&L again, it'll be too soon. The way she throws around business terminology feels like someone who just discovered Harvard Business School exists and wants everyone to know she understands spreadsheets. Newsflash, Meghan, millions of people deal with profit and loss every single day. It's not some exclusive club that makes you special. But here's what really exposes Meghan's business boss fantasy as complete fiction. Netflix is running the entire commercial side of her operation. She's not actually making the hard decisions, negotiating the deals, or analyzing market trends. She's the talent, the face of the brand, while other people handle the actual business aspects. Yet she wants credit for being this savvy entrepreneur who's carefully studying her company's financial health. The Harper's Bazaar piece tried to paint Meghan as someone who effortlessly balances motherhood and business, claiming her office is right by the kitchen and her daughter Lilibet comes and sits on her lap during important meetings. Whether those meetings are about P&L for her brand or creative decisions, Meghan insisted her children are always part of the process. Royal watchers immediately recognize this as another attempt to have it both ways, claiming she's a devoted hands-on mother while simultaneously being a ruthless businesswoman who never stops working. But the mask slipped when Meghan talked about showing up. She said that how you show up in one place is how you show up everywhere, that her work ethic is consistent whether she's doing potlucks at her kids' school or putting together parties for friends who just had babies. And there it was, the competitive edge that insiders say makes Meghan absolutely exhausting to be around. Even a school potluck isn't just about contributing food and supporting the community. It's about proving she's the best, showing everyone she can outperform them even at a casual parent gathering. Royal experts point out that this obsession with status and achievement contradicts everything Meghan claims about wanting a simple, authentic life. Tom Sykes compared it to someone who constantly produces different colored graphs to show how brilliant they are, desperately trying to convince everyone their business is thriving when the reality tells a very different story. And trust me, Meghan, your P&L isn't looking good right now. American Riviera Orchard has been a disaster. With Love, Meghan bombed, and Netflix is reportedly reconsidering their entire relationship with the Sussexes. The business boss fantasy is crumbling, but Meghan keeps clutching onto it because without the royal family and without a successful career, what does she actually have? But the journalist writing this piece revealed far more than Meghan intended. Here's what makes the Harper's Bazaar piece so fascinating. On the surface, it reads like typical celebrity puff journalism, full of flattering descriptions and sympathetic framing, but royal experts who've read it multiple times say that journalist Caitlyn Greenidge actually included several subtle editorial choices that completely expose Meghan Markle's true nature. The writer was far more clever than anyone initially realized. Take the emphasis on Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland. The piece goes into extensive detail about Doria's influence, her presence in Meghan's life, and the bond between mother and daughter. But royal commentators like Tom Sykes pointed out that by emphasizing the mother so heavily, the glaring absence of Meghan's father floats to the surface in an absolutely devastating way. You cannot read those passages about Doria without immediately thinking, where's Thomas Markle? Why is he completely erased from this narrative? For those who know the full story, the omission is damning. Thomas Markle has been on his deathbed for years, suffering serious health problems, and his daughter hasn't picked up the phone once to check on him. She hasn't asked how he's doing, what his medical chart looks like, whether he's okay. Yet here she is in Harper's Bazaar talking about authenticity, about showing up for people, about making others feel seen and valued. The hypocrisy is staggering, and the writer made sure readers would notice it by drawing such heavy attention to the mother-daughter relationship. Then there's the calculated choice of mentioning that Meghan's publicist sat between her and the journalist during their first interview at the Beverly Hills hotel. Most celebrity profiles don't include details like that because it breaks the illusion of intimacy. But Greenidge specifically noted the publicist's presence, which tells readers that every word out of Meghan's mouth was carefully monitored and controlled. This wasn't an honest conversation between two people. This was a managed PR exercise with a handler making sure Meghan stayed on message. The writer also described Meghan's choice of seating at the Polo lounge as calculated, using that exact word. She made it clear that Meghan wanted a table where everyone could see her, where she'd be noticed and photographed and talked about. Again, this contradicts Meghan's claims about wanting privacy and living authentically. You don't strategically position yourself at the most visible table in an exclusive Hollywood restaurant if you're genuinely trying to live a quiet, private life. Perhaps most devastatingly, Greenidge included this line near the end of the piece. Meghan is remarkably at ease with the surrealism of global celebrity. In fact, she seems to enjoy it. Royal watchers believe Meghan's team absolutely hates that line because it exposes the truth everyone already knows. Meghan isn't some reluctant celebrity forced into the spotlight against her will. She loves the attention. She craves the fame. She's living her absolute dream, and she's not about to give it up. But the writer saved the most brutal observation for the very end. A single sentence that royal insiders believe foreshadows exactly what's coming next. And it's not good news for Prince Harry. The final line of the Harper's Bazaar piece might be the most telling detail in the entire profile, and it's one that should have Prince Harry deeply concerned about his future. As journalist Caitlyn Greenidge prepared to leave the Upper East Side brownstone, she wrote this chilling observation. When I walk to the door, I turn and can see Meghan turn back to the kitchen, illuminated by the green light of the rain-soaked garden, ready to move on to the next thing. Ready to move on to the next thing. Royal commentators immediately jumped on that phrase, interpreting it as far more than just a description of Meghan heading back to her cooking duties. This was the writer signaling what everyone in Hollywood already knows. Meghan Markle is always looking for the next opportunity, the next stepping stone, the next chapter in her carefully constructed narrative. and sources close to the situation are whispering that Harry might be that next thing she's ready to move on from. Despite all of Meghan's public declarations about Harry's devotion and love, despite the awkward Netflix kiss and the carefully staged couple content, palace insiders believe the marriage is on borrowed time. That Vanity Fair report about someone from Meghan's team shopping a post-divorce book, it never went away. The Sussexes never denied it, and their silence on that explosive claim speaks volumes about what might be happening behind closed doors in Montecito. But here's where things get really interesting for Meghan's so-called Hollywood comeback. Her Netflix deal is reportedly on shaky ground, with executives privately expressing frustration over the Sussexes' inability to deliver content that resonates with audiences. American Riviera Orchard, her lifestyle brand that was supposed to rival Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, has become a punchline. The holiday special bombed, and now this Harper's Bazaar cover, which was clearly meant to rehabilitate her image, has instead exposed her narcissism, her title obsession, and her complete disconnect from reality. Royal experts are predicting that within the next year we're going to see some major changes in the Sussex household. William is more determined than ever to strip their titles, especially after this blatant commercial exploitation documented in Harper's Bazaar. King Charles is under increasing pressure from his heir to take action before his reign ends. And Meghan herself seems to be positioning for a post-royal life, testing the waters to see if she can maintain relevance without the Sussex brand attached to her name. The problem is, nobody in Hollywood is particularly interested in Meghan Markle the actress or Meghan Markle the lifestyle guru. They were interested in Meghan Markle the Duchess, the woman with royal connections and insider palace gossip. Strip away the title, remove the royal mystique, and what's left? A former cable television actress in her 40s with a string of failed business ventures and a reputation for being difficult to work with. Industry insiders are already predicting that when the divorce finally happens, and many believe it's a question of when rather than if, Harry will be welcomed back into the royal fold with open arms while Meghan fades into obscurity. The working royals, particularly William and Catherine, will emerge victorious in this years-long PR battle, and Meghan will be left exactly where she started, on the outside looking in, desperately trying to claw her way back to relevance. This Harper's Bazaar profile, meant to be her moment, might actually mark the beginning of the end. The authenticity crisis is real, the business ventures are failing, the marriage appears strained, and the royal family is done playing nice. So here's the question everyone's asking. How much longer can Meghan maintain this facade before it all comes crashing down? Royal watchers believe we're about to find out, and it's not going to be pretty. Drop your thoughts below, like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.